Let me start with the most important and the best thing that I get to say all day. Happy birthday to my mom. Woo! Okay, hopefully we've set the mood for some celebration, and now I'd love to invite some reflectiveness. So if you wouldn't mind, if you could join me for just a second in closing your eyes. Tune in to the day. Feel its gravity. Feel its lightness. Feel the heat. Drink in the luck and all of the hard work that it took for you to get here. You can open your eyes. I want to give some thanks to the folks who have made HBS possible for us, to the deans and professors who have enriched our minds, to the faculty support staff, the scribes, the online learning facilitators, the building support staff, the food service professionals, and everyone else who make HBS hum. And I'd love to give a special shout out to Claire, my bestie from the Spangler Grill, sitting under one of these beautiful trees on your right-hand side. Yes. Every day when I walk into the grill and Claire sees me and she says, "How you doing, baby?" I know she genuinely cares to know the answer. You never know when your kindness will really affect someone or bring a smile to their face, as Claire has done for me every day. Thank you. While HBS would not have been possible without the folks I just mentioned, it wouldn't have even been a possibility without each of you sitting in the audience with your graduate. For you, we are forever grateful. And to the folks who are not present today, whoever they are and whatever their story, I honor them, the impact that they've had on our lives, and their hand in helping us become better versions of ourselves. And last, I've got to thank Section B. There we go. I've got to thank Section B for putting up with me on my soapbox, which I may be on again today, for putting up with my roasts and my endless references to Pixar movies. In a real HBS class, a section mate stopped the discussion and she said, "You know what, Erik? Life is not like a Pixar movie." And you know what? I disagree. Right now, it very much feels like it is. For us to reflect on this experience together, I'd love to take us on a stroll down memory lane. Or maybe better yet, a scroll. Welcome to your HBS For You page. Okay, now that I have Gen Z's attention, for the millennials, welcome to your Vine feed. The Gen Xers, your MySpace bulletin board. And for the boomers in the audience, I've been told to invite you to the 8mm film party. Come aboard. Okay, jokes aside, fire up the imagination, pick a soundtrack, and rewind with me, back to 2022. Swipe. You opened your email at noon Eastern to read, "The answer is yes." Wow. Swipe. You arrived at Admitted Students Weekend, teeth chattering, either because of the mock case or maybe because of the mixture of snow and hail pelting us. Thanks a lot, Boston. The first of many shivers here, but maybe that one was the most intense. Swipe. You ended up on let's call it a boat tour. The Croatian coast was shockingly an amazing place to meet your future classmates, albeit of questionable appropriateness. Swipe. You've settled into your new home in Aldrich. Butterflies flood your stomach as you raise your hand for the first time. You make a comment that the class guest says was brilliant, and you leave there feeling like an absolute genius. Or maybe you flub the comment. Nobody remembers anyway. Swipe. Third straight 3-case day, and you're feeling squeezed beyond belief. You're starting to do the math of which of the 3 cases you might be able to skim. Swipe, but wait. Your friend gives a my take, and you learn about a whole new side of them. The hug that you share afterwards feels more meaningful than you'd expect from a friendship of 3 months. Swipe. Harvard-Yale, round 1. You bopped around Cambridge like you owned the place, and you rocked the crimson with pride. Unless, of course, you went to Yale for undergrad. So embarrassing. Swipe. Back on campus for the 2nd semester. You attend a weekend trip with a club or an affinity group, and you feel a wave of connection that makes the huge HBS community feel a bit more cozy. Swipe. You're on your laptop, uploading every detail of your life story into 1220. Swipe. The interviews start rolling in. Swipe. A half-finished Rock Summer Fellows application sits on your desktop. No. Swipe. We're getting out of that part of the algorithm. Too good a day for that darkness. Swipe. Okay, nice. Now we're at field. You check Find My Friends, and you see HBS dotting every corner of the globe. Somehow, news is traveling faster within the class than at the Associated Press. Swipe. Summer break, a moment of space from HBS. You return to campus and grab dinner with a small group of close friends. And amazingly, they already are starting to feel like your family. Swipe. Existential crisis hits. It's the middle of the 2nd year, and you have no idea where you're going to be in a few months. All of your friends say they're in the same boat, but somehow you still feel like you're behind. Swipe, but you're saved by a classmate who just got engaged, or married, or had a baby. You were one of the first ones to know. And you feel comfort and solace knowing that you'll very soon drop the modifier from business school friend. Swipe. Bridges, the last week of school. Walking back into your first-year classroom felt like returning home after too many months apart. Even though you were just down the hall from your section mates all year, distance still made the heart grow fonder. And swipe. Wait, that's weird. Audubon and Michelle are on stage? Swipe? Oh, here we are. Welcome to class day. TikTok live, everyone smile for the selfie. I'll get both sides, don't worry. This side needs some love. You better believe that selfie's getting a frame before the diploma does. Naturally, the question of the day is, what was the point of all of that swiping? I think we've all wrestled with that question at some point since being at school. A prior struggle I had with it helps give me some clarity as I reflect today. Swipe back to that Tuesday afternoon when we all got into HBS. I read the news, shouted to my sisters, and FaceTimed with my parents. In excitement, we made a plan to visit Cambridge together the next weekend. That night, my dad texted me a whiskey glass emoji and said, "You got into freaking Harvard." Saturday of the same week, I get a call around 7 p.m. "Erik, Dad passed out. Mom's worried." I ran home and joined my sisters. We sprawled on the floor as we phoned in to the paramedics, talking my mom through what was happening in the basement. An agonizing hour unfolded. 4 days after I had gotten into HBS, 3 years, 1 month, and 19 days ago, my father died of a sudden heart attack. Ken Roberts was my mentor, my biggest cheerleader, my best friend. He was the kind of guy who would drive to and from New York 8 hours to pick me up when the pandemic started, who bought a coworker's plane ticket home when her mother passed without a second thought. He was the kind of guy with the larger-than-life personality who would light up a room the instant he walked in. whose dad jokes in a restaurant were legitimately funny. The kind of father who showed up day after day for the people that he loved. When I lost him, the only story that I could believe was that my life was over too. What was the point of anything anymore if my dad wasn't here to share it? The following Monday, I called HBS to say I wouldn't be coming here. I just couldn't do it. I spent months drowning in sorrow, every day sinking into a deeper depression. I wore a smile to feign that things were okay around my family and when I went back to work. But every few minutes, I would go numb, remembering that I'm living in a world without my father. I still feel that way. But there's another side to the story that took me a while to find. Losing my father refocused my priorities. It helped me see what really mattered, and it gave me the deepest perspective I could have ever wanted, or maybe not wanted. And the example he set helps me see what I would call the essence or the point of an experience like this. As I see it, what we did here had very little to do with DCFs or cycle times, and certainly not the value stick. The point of an experience like this is to give us the tools, the experiences, and the connections to expand our minds and our circles of empathy. But even more important will be how you translate that learning and growth into becoming a better person and a better leader. And therein lies the rub. The essence of HBS will be defined by how we choose to use our expanded minds when we leave this place to make that positive difference in the world. To do this, we must accept several responsibilities that we now have, burdens that, if we don't get them right, threaten to blur the impact of this degree. And this is where my father's wisdom comes in handy. I'd like to offer a few Ken Roberts-inspired reflections on some of these burdens that may help us stay on the great path that we're on. Let's start with the first burden, humility. Whether you like it or not, when we leave here, we walk around with a crimson H tattooed onto our foreheads. And because of that, it is our responsibility to cultivate and embody humility. My dad taught me that humility comes from knowing your value, neither overestimating it nor underestimating it, believing that you have more to learn from every encounter, and taking pride in changing your mind. It means keeping that student's mindset even when we wear a leader's title. In one of our very first cases, Indra Nui from Pepsi taught us that when she goes to work, she wears the metaphorical crown of being the CEO. But when she goes home, she leaves the crown in the garage and becomes just Indra. It is an achievement to have earned the crown that we are undoubtedly wearing today. But tomorrow, when we toss our caps in the air, I encourage you to imagine tossing your crown with it too. Second is the burden of generosity. My father never cared about how much money he made in life. It was all about living below your means and being selfless with the time, talent, and treasure that you have. It is up to us now to devote time and talent to causes that push our communities, our planet, and humanity forward. And it is our responsibility to donate our treasure accordingly, thinking not of charity, but of solidarity and reciprocity. In my calculation, there will never be enough time, and we could always use more talent. But consider whether there might be a point at which we have more treasure than we really need. My challenge for all of us is to think hard about how much you can afford to give back. And when you feel like you've reached your limit, could you push just a little further? A spirit of generosity is cultivated over time, and that first paycheck when we leave this place might be a great time to nurture that spirit. Finally, we are burdened with the need to tell good stories, especially in the face of adversity. maybe you have tools to deal with the tough moments in your life, from your faith, or a meditation practice, or your own family's values. Or maybe you've picked up some tactics from our classmates, as I certainly have. It is clear to me that when I choose to tell myself better stories, more thoughtful, nuanced, and intentional stories, the power that they have is immense. Here are some of the new stories that I've come to believe. For starters, losing my father has helped me feel others' pain more fully. Without it, I couldn't hold a section mate quite as tightly when they lose a parent too. I wouldn't know what to say, or that sometimes there's nothing to say, and all you can do is show up. Since his passing, my father's voice has gotten even clearer in my head, helping me feel more conviction in my values and what it means to do the right thing. If a thought creeps in that says, maybe I'll take the easy way out, maybe I won't pick my friend up from the airport, maybe I won't show up for someone when they need me, I hear his voice saying, come on, brother, you know what to do. Last, my father's favorite lesson from his own mother was that life is for the living. You can't waste a day of it. As I healed, I knew he would want me to come here, have this experience, and meet all of you. And what a blessing that has been. We all know how loving ends, said Maurice Sendak, the author of Where the Wild Things Are. We all know how loving ends. But I want to fall in love with the world anyway, to let it crack me open. I'm glad that the world has cracked me open, not for the pain in my breastbone or the tightness in my throat, but for the way that my mind and my circle of empathy are more expansive because of it. I wish like crazy that those that we have lost could physically be here on a day like today. But I feel confident knowing that they are here. At least their essences live on in each of us. And I also know that it wouldn't matter if today we were graduating from Harvard or kicking it on the couch. The people who really loved us would be just as proud either way. Before I let you go, I want to take just a second to put a piece of my own advice into practice. A few minutes ago, I had said we all have 3 burdens on our shoulders upon walking out of here. But what if I had picked a different story? What if I had said we have 3 privileges, 3 new opportunities? How might you have experienced them differently? Allow me the chance to choose my words a bit more carefully. Congratulations, class of 2024, on graduating from HBS. We now have the privilege of having something to be humble about. We have the privilege of having something to give. And we've had the privilege of an education that will help us craft better stories about the world, about our work, and about our lives. If we are known for leading with humility, giving generously, and telling the very best stories, it is undoubtedly true that we are headed to infinity and beyond. Thank you so much.